All right. Hello, everybody. Looks like the audio is working. Everything's going well. Well, we were setting up a live stream anyway to cover kind of scattered severe thunderstorms, especially located in the Northeast this afternoon. They are slowly pushing towards the I-95 corridor from Northern Virginia, Maryland, approaching areas around Philadelphia, and eventually New York City. As we were getting the stream set up, actually saw an alert for a tornado warning. So started the stream just a few minutes early. And I do want to get in here. This is a tornado warning in Charleston, West Virginia, just north of downtown Charleston. So, yeah, here's your tornado warning in central West Virginia. That's northwestern Kanawha County and east central Putnam County in west central West Virginia. It is a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado located over Cross Lanes or near Nitro, moving east at about 20 miles an hour. Radar indicated rotation. All right. We're really close to the radar site too, so that is an interesting little feature. I think it was maybe just a little bit tighter just a few minutes ago. Yeah, so it was just a little bit tighter just a few minutes ago. You can see that's a pretty classic little hook echo shape. We have our inflow winds in here and outflow winds in here, and the tornado likes to sit up in there near Rocky Ford. Just like that. So looks like also some larger hail potentially in this storm just north of there. It's going to cross I-77 north of the Charleston area around Legg and Millertown. So if you're anywhere in this area just north of Charleston, West Virginia, you do want to take tornado safety precautions. That's the lowest level into your room, away from those doors and windows. Put walls between you and the outside. And yeah, tornado warning there in West Virginia. Looks like it's just crossed the area. Yeah, just to the east of Nitro. A little more populated areas along the river valleys in here. So, yeah, dealing with some terrain that we don't usually get a lot of tornadic activity. We may have some cameras in this area. Let me look. I'm not as familiar with our West Virginia cameras. We've used a few from time to time in the Wheeling area. Let me see if we have any pointed towards that storm. The other tricky thing about West Virginia is obviously there's a lot of hills involved in this area. So, yeah. Pull this camera. All right, we'll just throw that up there real quick. That's from West Virginia 511, looking actually from the Charleston area towards that storm. I guess we'll just move the whole thing over. Yeah, I did not expect to cover much in West Virginia today, so Yeah, I did not have a camera preloaded for West Virginia. All right, that's close enough. Yeah, that's looking from the Charleston area towards those storms. It doesn't look as impressive. Well, we might be running into a little bit that radar. Don't know the exact elevation of it. We might be running into a little bit of contamination from the terrain in this area. But regardless, tornado warning continues. It's about to cross I-77, just near State Highway 29, crossing State Highway 26. Elk Hills over towards Leg. Continue to take tornado safety precautions there in West Virginia. Hey, Cruz, how's it going today? Yeah, it looks good from here. Can't tell fully just on the chat, but it looks like you got a nice professional profile. That's a nice way of doing it. Hey, Sleeveless Joe, Montgomery County. Yep. You guys are in line for storms here in a little while, right? Montgomery County is in the Philadelphia area, right? Let's check this area. Because we have seen more storms go severe just in the last little bit. Kind of a scattered cluster of storms approaching those areas out by Reading, up through areas like New Ringgold, and eventually West Penn Township. Right now, not looking crazy. They're all just being warned for some small hail and mostly gusty winds. Not a ton of hail in here, mostly in the northeast. The threat is for wind damage, and some of the models did show storms kind of clustering together. So as these continue to work towards the east, we may see a little bit of a line segment form. That would expand the wind threat, and that may work its way all the way across New York City, Long Island. They've added a few counties to the severe thunderstorm watch across the southern counties of Connecticut. And yeah, so they have expanded that watch just a little bit since it was first announced. We also have strong to severe storms pushing through Maryland right now. Severe storm north of Baltimore. That's up towards Parkton and Hereford. That may skirt the PA and Maryland border, the Mason-Dixon line, so it heads up around Rising Sun. And then strong but not severe storms right now just west of Baltimore, Eldersburg, and then down through areas to the northwest of Washington, D.C., around Rockville, Clarksville, and Columbia, Maryland. Stronger storms back into Virginia around Leesburg and back towards the airport there. Yeah, those are going to come into some really populated areas in northern Virginia in the next couple hours. 60-mile-an-hour winds, some quarter-size hail. Hail doesn't look that strong right there. So we'll see how things continue to develop in the Northeast, especially some of these storms are going to be working into areas around Philadelphia, New York City, right around rush hour. We also have some isolated storms already going up around White Plains and up into Orange County, New York. But the main threat is going to be those storms that are back across south central Pennsylvania. Those are going to continue moving into the Delaware Valley in the next couple hours. And then a line of non-severe storms kind of back here by the cold front. Some isolated severe weather across eastern Kentucky and a lot of southern and central parts of Virginia now under a new severe thunderstorm watch. Yeah, they added this watch, I think, fairly recently, within the last half hour or so. Surrounding this tornado warning, I think they're doing a nice job with this. They're kind of warning just the area that has that rotation. Although, yeah, it seems to have backed off some. But regardless of that area of rotation, they're warning the whole area around that. That does include more of immediate Charleston, areas around Edgewood, and the Charleston Airport there on the hillside. That area is being warned for severe thunderstorm warning, considerable threat for golf ball size hail. Now, yeah, it does look like the golf ball size hail should be north of Charleston, but we'll keep an eye on it for you. Fairly high populated area. Yeah, the Charleston metro area has about 200,000 people. So it is a fairly populated area. It's fairly, again, kind of condensed into the river valley in here, where the terrain is a little bit more buildable. But then that does kind of extend up into our warning area. You kind of trace out the rivers and see those population. If you look at a map of the West Virginia at night, you can see a lot more of the population kind of traced out along the river valleys. That's what I'm thinking, Joe. I think it's going to be, yeah, you're going to get probably some strong to severe storms across that area in the Delaware Valley and the Philadelphia area. One of the main reasons we're on is just because there were some model indications earlier of a little bit more concentrated severe risk. They may kind of organize as they get across the Delaware River, so we'll keep an eye on it. But yeah, if you're further to the west, the severe chance is a little less threatening. Yeah, these are all just kind of base level severe thunderstorm warnings right now. But yeah, I am still a little bit concerned as we get further towards the east that we may have to deal with more of a line segment. There are a bunch of other storms. We may get some other random severe warnings. There's kind of a cluster working through middle Tennessee, a bunch of scattered storms through Mississippi right now. Wouldn't be surprised if we see some flash flood warnings come out of the areas here around Baton Rouge to west of New Orleans. These storms, I feel like, have been sitting here all afternoon. Yeah, this is like a 2-hour loop here. So back 2 hours ago, you can see storms still in some of those same locations. In fact, they haven't moved much, and it looks like coverage has just kind of expanded in those areas between Baton Rouge and New Orleans. And then southern Texas has had some heavy rain overnight. I saw some flash flooding around the Houston area late last night. We've also had flash flooding in West Texas. You can see these flash flood warnings. Storms are moving out of those areas right now, but more storms may fire later, and they already do have severe thunderstorm watch for parts of West Texas. Back through the Big Bend, looks like a couple storms have already gone severe there. This is where the main threat is, that larger hail. Yeah, there's a slight risk down in this area from Alpine, Pecos, Fort Stockton, Big Lake, Ozona, down to Eagle Pass. That's mainly for the larger hail. There is a little bit of a tornado risk, a small tornado risk around Fort Stockton, wind, and then there's our larger hail, a hatched area for some significant hail. We may see some plus 2-inch diameter hail. Hail is not the main risk across the Northeast and into the upper Ohio Valley. Pretty low risk for hail. It's mostly this wind risk, and that follows the slight risk corridor. The other day, they did have a low tornado risk in this area. They actually backed off of that over, I think, about 24 hours ago. But like our Charleston storm, we could get a couple random tornado warnings. And it does look like they're going to let that tornado warning expire. But yeah, kind of keeping our eye right now on this broken cluster of storms. basically stretching from eastern Pennsylvania back into, I guess you'd consider that central Maryland. I believe that's the state capital of West Virginia. Um, yeah, right there at the center. Let's see if we have a camera that points towards that storm. Yeah, that might be one of our better wide shot looks. It's hard in West Virginia. There's so many hills and mountains. But that generally, I believe, does look at those storms. Okay, we did get a new warning. And let's take a look at this. Small hail, gusty winds. That's going to be for Hunterton, Warren, Berks, Lehigh, Bucks, and Northampton counties, eastern Pennsylvania, and as well as northwestern New Jersey. Yeah, that's along the 78 corridor, heavily traveled area around Easton, Pennsylvania, Allentown, Pennsylvania. That's a pretty good area of wind in there. Let's take a look at this area. Yeah, there is a pocket of heavier wind in there. Probably 50 to 60 in this, at least in this area, right into basically the west side of Allentown. So yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on those areas. Taking a look at the Baltimore area. Wow. Yeah, I guess it's about 5 o'clock. So yeah, we're getting into rush hour here. That's the other reason why we're on right now. Not a high-end severe weather outbreak, but we're into some populated areas. People are getting out and about, traveling. It's getting into rush hour. See a lot of cars on the, I believe that's I-95. Yeah, that's I-95 at 395, just on the southwest side of Baltimore. Actually captured a tornado on this about 2 years ago on this camera. But yeah, storms are just kind of on the northwest side of Baltimore right now. Not severe. They do have a special marine warning out for the Chesapeake Bay, so hopefully no one's on the bay right now. And this is just going to complicate rush hour. A couple severe warnings there in areas around Parkton, Taylor, Trump, and just to the state line around Fawn Grove. And then taking a look at our storms here in Pennsylvania. New Holland, Strasburg, Georgetown, Kirkwood, Eastern Lancaster County. Kind of a let me back it up and just see if they were. Yeah, they were stronger a few minutes ago. Those storms are a little bit diminished as they move in from Lancaster County to Chester County. Kind of a complex there. This is a pretty strong storm around Gilbertsville. It's come out of the Reading area. And that's going to work its way down 422 towards some of those northern suburbs of the Philadelphia metro. So yeah, Sleeveless Joe, you're going to get into some of this in a few minutes. This may be one of the storms that has a little bit of hail in it. We're not talking about, damaging to destructive hail or anything. But, you know, quarter size hail can do a little bit of damage. We're not talking about baseballs or anything like that here in this part of the country, but still, hail is hail, and it can do some damage. Yeah, just south of Gilbertsville, that's probably the strongest core in this little segment. And then, yeah, worried about a little bit of a wind risk. Areas there around Allentown. 55 to 60 miles an hour just coming into the west side of Allentown around Coffeetown, Mechanicsville, and Walbert along I-78 there. That's that's probably one of the reasons they've warned this a little bit further out. Let me check the speed on this too. Yeah, it's only moving at 35, but they have warned it a fair distance away just because of this wind threat that's going to likely continue across this warning polygon. There's some of your communities in there. Northampton, it's right about now. Same for Allentown. It's going to be pretty much into Allentown in about 4 minutes or less. Freemansburg, 12. The Cottage Hill Historic District, about 27 minutes. I believe that's Easton. Yeah, Easton showing up about 27 minutes from now. And then into areas into New Jersey, around New Village, New Jersey, 37 minutes. Ringlestown, 27. And then down along Pennsylvania, 32. About 40 minutes to Frenchtown. That's along the Delaware River. If it holds together, Flemington, New Jersey would be about an hour away. So we'll keep an eye on that storm. There is another little pocket of some stronger winds at Halfway House, Pennsylvania. This is just to the north of Pottsgrove and Unionville along the 422 corridor. That's another pocket that has probably 55 to 60 mile an hour winds. And yeah, that's kind of a newer pocket. You can see those colors getting a little bit brighter in there. The bright blue or the bright greens and kind of bluish color, that it is indicating a little bit stronger winds in there. So heads up around Springmount, Lansdale, Spring City, Pottstown right now, probably getting some pretty heavy wind. And then, yeah, they have added a new severe thunderstorm warning for these areas in southern Chester County and also Delaware County in southeast Pennsylvania, as well as Newcastle County in northern Delaware. That storm is another one that has a little bit punchier of a hail core in it. And some stronger winds. New Garden, New London, Chesterville, into areas around Greenville, Walnut Ridge, and Delaware. Should stay right now west and north of Wilmington, but Wilmington, you are working to the north and west, leaving the Wilmington area up along 41. You're going to run into some of those heavier storms back across the PA border. And yeah, no warnings right now around that Baltimore area, but we do have plans along the Chesapeake Bay today. Those are all being covered by special weather statements and special marine warnings, as well as areas along the Potomac there. Special marine warnings continue basically from DC south along the Potomac. Some good news is for DC, we've seen some of these storms reduce in strength, and you can see there's an outflow boundary in here. So those storms are, right now, they're struggling as they approach DC. Hey, ST Nguyen, yeah. I forget where you're located, but one of these random storms actually has a warning out across Long Island right now, so. Yeah, there's a storm just coming off the Long Island Sound. There's the new warning for this. It's going to be around Terryville, Port Jefferson. This is well outside of the New York City area, but a couple stronger storms north of Long Island right now. That's not the main event. So if you do have a severe warning across Long Island right now, that is not the main event. Then the other new warning, they're upping that storm around Gilbertsville and Pottstown. 60-mile-an-hour winds there. Wouldn't be surprised if we start to see, we are getting into a more populated area. Wouldn't be surprised if we see more confirmed wind reports versus the radar indicated wind. Take a look at our storms in West Virginia again. There's a couple other stronger storms also south and west of Charleston and extreme southern West Virginia. We'll keep an eye on those. Here is our previously tornado warned storm. Still a considerable threat for golf ball size hail, 60-mile-an-hour winds. That's Kanawha, Rowan, or Rowan, whatever that county is, and then Clay counties in north central, basically central West Virginia. Golf ball size hail, 60-mile-an-hour wind. Young's Bottom over towards Queen Shoals, Leo, Pigeon, Beaumont, Odessa, Glen, and then back towards areas around 3 Mile and Aaron's. That is working away from the West Virginia or from the Charleston area. Looking the clouds getting a little darker again. That's for some of these storms west of Charleston. So Charleston, you missed out on the worst weather yet, but there are more storms. It's likely going to get a little bit stormy later into the afternoon and evening for the areas around Charleston. While we're on this stream, we may get some updates from some of the severe weather that we've had the last few days. Want to see if we've had any updates so far. No, I haven't seen any updates yet, but we may get some updates from some of the severe weather the last couple days. Yeah, weird. I actually haven't seen any updates yet. Get a track of some of those other storms, and I want to also get the details for you on some of the other severe warnings and watches that have been issued in the last little bit. That severe weather watch in Texas right now, that goes until 10 p.m. in the Central Daylight Time. Let's get down to those Texas storms. Yeah, it's a small watch area, but it does cover basically the Big Bend of Texas, Fort Stockton, Marfa, Fort Davis, and Alpine. A couple of tornadoes are possible. Scattered hail up to 2 inches likely, and scattered wind gusts up to 70 possible. That's for that watch. And then the watch in West Virginia and Eastern Kentucky, extreme southwest parts of Virginia. It does include, includes a couple counties there around Clintwood and Grundy in regular Virginia. That goes until 9 p.m. Eastern. Middleport, Buckhannon, Huntington, Logan, Beckley, Charleston, and then down through Hazard, Paintsville, London, Kentucky, and Bourbonville. That 9 p.m., couple quarter-size hail, scattered hail up to quarter size, scattered wind up to 70, and isolated, or not isolated, sorry, frequent lightning also possible. They're warning that area for. So yeah, kind of a, I guess, a slightly lower end severe watch, but still, severe weather is severe weather. And then this watch that covers basically all of New Jersey, parts of Long Island, or all of Long Island now, and southern Connecticut, southern New York, eastern Pennsylvania, and Delaware. That watch goes until 9 p.m. Eastern. Philadelphia, Allentown, East Stroudsburg, metropolitan New York area, Bridgeport, Norwich, Connecticut, down through Atlantic City, Dover, and Salisbury. That watch goes for isolated hail up to quarters, scattered wind gusts up to 70 miles an hour are likely, and also frequent lightning. Let's see. ST Nguyen, I forget. Where are you? You don't have to say like your exact city, but if you want to give a town or city that's close to you, I can give you a little better details. I'm blanking where you are right now. These storms have flared up a little bit more just in the last little bit since we've been kind of on the stream. Gilbertsville, Pottstown, and then down through areas in approaching Kennett Square and Franklin in southern Chester County. A new warning also just to the north and east of Baltimore now. A couple of new severe warnings there just to the north and east of Baltimore. Yeah, so kind of a scattered, broken line of storms right now. Here's a look at that area. This is around Perry Hall, Middle River. That's I-95 right now. That's right kind of in this little core of the storm near the MedStar Franklin Square Medical Center. This is at Maryland 43. I believe in here. Yeah, Maryland 43 and I-95. So it's about to get into some of the worst of that storm around Franklin Corner. A little bit more of a solid line now showing up from basically north of Baltimore up through areas around Chester County, Pennsylvania, and then this area around Pottstown. Moving up, taking a look at these storms. Still seeing a pocket of higher end winds in here. Allentown just kind of came through the Allentown area, approaching Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. And yeah, just as we're looking at that, it looks like the National Weather Service office is also doing the same. The winds have come up in that part of the storm as they've worked through the Allentown area. They're right now around Star Village, seeing some readings here above 60 miles an hour. So 65, probably a decent bet in here. They are warning this now as a considerable threat for 70 mile an hour damaging winds. That can take down trees real easy. If you have trees on your property, you want to be on a low level into your room away from the windows. And they just moved that camera quite a bit. Maybe just looking at the weather. Yeah, lightning picking up. You can see the trees moving. I like that camera position. So just kind of browsing around looking at that storm. That's looking more towards the core of those storms. And yeah, traffic picking up on I-95 as we're getting into rush hour. That's a good shot right there if you're listening on Maryland DOT. I like that shot. You can see the trees. Yeah, right here around Allentown and just east of Allentown, Fountain Hill. Probably 65 mile an hour winds. That's going to continue working east at about 35 miles an hour. So yeah, Harvey's Corner about 5 or 6 minutes. Alpha 18, Easton, Pennsylvania 14 minutes. And then if that does hold together, areas there, Washington about 35 minutes. That's in New Jersey. And Flemington, New Jersey about 45 minutes. Same for Raritan Township. White House Station about 54 minutes away. So yeah, it's going to continue basically working along that I-78 corridor, getting into the Delaware Valley. Hey, Storm Team, how's it going today? This is Aguacero weather. We've recently made the switch, and I'm liking how I'm still getting used to it a little bit. So I'm still a little bit slow at it sometimes, but it's working really nice. I have it kind of customized, so it may look a little bit different. There's a couple different tiers. There's a couple paid tiers, and then there is a free version. You can just pull it up on your desktop. You don't even need to download the app. You can just pull it up and use it as a browser source. Definitely check it out. It has some good features. They've just added a bunch of features in the last couple updates, including live radar. So that actually was one of the main reasons we were kind of looking at it for a while. But since they added live radar, that obviously makes what we're doing a little easier. And then, yeah, there's a ton of different things you can do with data layers and things. In fact, one of those data layers I can add on is hail track. We can see the past few hours of hail tracking. So this is a radar estimate. It's not like exactly 100%, but we can see there's some areas there that have had some larger hail. I can switch a couple different layers there. Then get an inspection tool. So yeah, this area around Potts Grove, that was a little area that I thought there might be a little bit of quarter size hail. And the radar's seeing about the same here along 663, maybe some quarter size hail in that storm. That's headed over towards Springmount, Pennsylvania. These hail tracks over time are nice because you can see how it kind of matches with storm strength somewhat. So you can see if hail is growing or expanding. It does look like we have some newer hail cores in some of those newly severe warned storms in Chester County. So take a look at that. Inch and a quarter, maybe see quarter to half dollar size hail in these areas. So we'll keep an eye on those. Yeah, it's being warned right now for under inch hail. That may have a little bit more than quarter size hail. Hey, Cooper, how's it going today? Yeah, you guys are in, most of West Virginia is in that severe thunderstorm watch. Looking at those hail tracks, you can see the hail track of that supercell that we were following just north of Charleston a few minutes ago. This one is being warned for considerable threat for golf ball size hail. That hail track is underdoing it a little bit. That's not necessarily a something that is with this specific radar app. Sometimes the radar and algorithms just kind of underestimate hail. I think also because we're in some higher terrain that may be factoring into that underestimate. But yeah, and then let's go down and take a look at hail tracks out here, because this may be a little better visualization of these. Yeah, here we're seeing some larger hail already. Inch to 2 inch diameter hail potentially. So those storms are just starting to come up and get severe. Yeah, that may have flared up right there. That probably is over an inch in diameter hail. When I start to see those pinks and brighter colors, that usually indicates inch and a half diameter hail. So that probably is tracking with the radar products. Can kind of do the same thing for rotation tracks. This tracks that area of rotation. And you can see that has weakened in general since it's left that tornado warned area. So still some broad rotation in there, some weak rotation. But you can see here that kind of peaked with these yellow colors, the brighter yellows indicating that more potent rotation as that tracked across the areas north of Charleston. And while we're in this area, this storm has gotten more severe just in the last few minutes. Now being warned as a destructive severe thunderstorm, a baseball-sized hail, and 70-mile-an-hour wind. That's for northeastern Kanawha County, Rowan. I hope I'm saying that right, Cooper. I don't know how to pronounce that county. Central Rowan County, maybe pronouncing it like that. And then also Central Clay County. Radar indicated. So I don't believe we had a report of those, but that is some larger hail around Osborne and Clendenin, West Virginia. Also seeing some of that 70-mile-an-hour wind in there. So wind-driven baseball-sized hail can do quite a bit of damage. Yeah, seeing some pockets there, 65 to 70-mile-an-hour winds. That probably is correct there around Queen Shoals. Yeah, that's a dangerous storm. Still has a little bit of broad rotation on it, but not tornadic right now. It's mostly a hail threat. And I believe that is our first destructive severe thunderstorm of the day. Let's take a look back in, back along Long Island. Severe warning continues there around Stony Brook. That storm has weakened since it's come ashore. Still some other storms, special weather or a marine statement, special marine warning there for Long Island Sound. That is staying away from New York City right now. Here's a look at New York City. That's the Brooklyn area. Traffic picking up. It's, 5:10 in the Eastern time zone. You can see kind of a nice, right now, it looks very picturesque, a nice mix of clouds and sun. But that is going to go downhill later for the New York City area. Boyd County, Kentucky, yeah. Is that in Eastern Kentucky? Okay, yeah, it's right on the West Virginia state line. I was going to say, especially Western Kentucky has... Eastern Kentucky, you do get some severe storms, but they're usually a little more isolated by the time they get into Eastern Kentucky. But we've covered some very severe weather, especially Western and Central Kentucky. We had a dust storm the other day, a severe dust storm on our live stream. I forget what day it was, but the Lubbock area, it was being warned as a destructive severe thunderstorm for 75-mile-an-hour winds and not a lot of hail. It's mostly just winds, but it had a big blowing dust cloud kind of out ahead of it. Yeah, your hail core in here, right around Osborne, Kelly Hill, approaching area around Queen Shoals and Turner. And yeah, damaging wind in there as well. It's a dangerous storm. I would guess they're going to extend this out to the next county over. So keep an eye on this if you're out towards Crestmont, Maysville, Spread, and O'Brien, West Virginia. That's also kind of paralleling I-79. That's a dangerous storm in central Kentucky, or central West Virginia. And then, yeah, we do have a solid line of storms now, or a more solid line, I guess I should say, of storms into eastern Pennsylvania. Severe warnings stretch from the eastern Pennsylvania area all the way down through Holland, Pennsburg, Pottstown, and that does now include downtown Philadelphia. Severe thunderstorm warning there for those storms that are back through Chester County right now. This newest warning for the Philadelphia area, Camden County in southern New Jersey, central Gloucester County in southern New Jersey, southeast Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. So Sleeveless Joe, I guess you guys are in that warning in Montgomery County now. Chester County, Philadelphia County, and Delaware County, East Pennsylvania. Let's see. Let's get a timing on this real quick because it is getting into a more populated area. Those storms are basically through Westchester right about now along the 202 corridor, up through Malvern and Glenlock. Wow, they are getting into some more populated areas here in the short term. And I do want to check the forward speed, about 30 miles an hour. All right, that's going to bring it into downtown Philadelphia, about 36 minutes. So that'll basically bring it into New Jersey, about 40 to 45 minutes. Areas around Lawnside, about 50 minutes to the end of the warning polygon. The airport, Philadelphia Airport, about 32 minutes. The North Philly around Temple, about 35. And then a little bit closer here, Chester Heights, 9 minutes. Radnor, 12. Morton, 20. Upper Darby, 25. Jenkintown, 36. So it is going to get into the heart of Philadelphia in the short term. See if those we had some cameras in Philly I was playing around with on the getting the stream set up, and some of the Philly cams were down for some reason. It looks like they said they were down for maintenance, which is a bit annoying. Yeah, it looks like some of those Camden County cameras are still down that look back towards Philly. Okay, that one's better. Okay, we'll leave our New Jersey or our West Virginia cameras. Let me get this back up for the New Jersey cameras, and that should help. Okay, this is in Jersey, just outside of the Philly area. I'm gonna have to crop this back out. All right, that's close enough. That's at 76 westbound at 295 on the east side of Philadelphia. So that'll be a helpful camera as we get storms into the Philadelphia area in a little bit. Still looking at our Maryland cameras. Things are clearing out just a little bit there. Take a look at the Baltimore area. Yeah, storms are pushing just to the east of 95 now. We're in Edgewood, Maryland, down through Middle River, and about to push off into the Chesapeake. Areas around Aldino, Churchville, and then severe warning storms, New London, Kelton, Kennett Square, up through Unionville, Goshenville, Exton, Fraser, and areas around Malvern, Pennsylvania. A little bit more of a hail core in there, potentially. We pick up another storm. This one has some gustier winds in it around Franconia, 60-mile-an-hour winds up towards Hilltown. And then this is our other considerable threat storm, 70-mile-an-hour winds, Wilson, Regalsville, Holland, Milford, approaching the Delaware River there around Easton. It does look like that storm may have come down in intensity just a little bit. Yeah. It's dropped off just a little bit. It really flared up, and it was considerable threat warned just to the east of Allentown. You can see those brighter blue colors. Those are some 65 to 70 mile an hour winds. Still showing up a little bit in here around Polk Valley, Pleasant Valley. And yeah, right now approaching the Delaware River, just south of Easton. That's where our highest winds in that storm are around Milford and Durham, Pennsylvania. That's going to continue working towards the east. We'll keep an eye on this along the I-78 corridor. Let's see. There's been some tornadoes, and in fact, I saw research lately, I think, that tornadoes are likely underreported in West Virginia. So there are probably more tornadoes in West Virginia than there are records of, just because there are some areas that are really mountainous terrain and things. And West Virginia just had a tornado 2 weeks ago, I think it was. I think it was like an EF1, EF2. Still seeing a considerable threat, severe thunderstorm. They're going to let the destructive tag work its way out. It's going to be back to golf ball size hail and 70 mile an hour winds. It was being warned for 70 and baseball size hail. It does have a history of hail. Looks like earlier there was $half size hail in Kanawha County. That's when it was tornado warned a little bit ago. And a couple of their reports there of inch diameter hail, some quarter size hail. Trees down, power lines down, back towards Wayne. So yeah, that does have a history of doing some damage. Looking at also a bunch of trees and wire down reports across eastern Pennsylvania, including around the Lancaster area, trees and wires down Roarstown Road, and then trees and wires down Charlestown Road, Paradise, Pennsylvania, multiple trees down. The Reading area, that Pottstown area, trees and wires down. So yeah, if you live in an area that has a lot of trees, you do want to treat these, even though they're standard severe warnings, you do want to treat these at least being on the low level into your room, away from those trees, because tree falling can do a lot of damage. And especially if it takes power lines with it, that can be a big messy situation. So yeah, we're seeing a bunch of wind reports already across the watch area. Not a ton of hail reports across Pennsylvania. So some good news there, at least for the cars, as that's approaching the Delaware Valley. Landspout report last night, it looks like. And still seeing hail and wind in this cell near Alpine, Texas. It is also being warned now for flash flood warning with 1.5 inches of rain already. And that's pretty remote, but also very arid landscape. And that's going to be, Yeah, that's going to be a threat continuing across West Texas is the flash flooding. Yeah, that sounds right. Fayette County, like northern West Virginia, somewhere like up in this area. I like to check storm reports from time to time just to see how these storms are behaving and kind of getting a read on those storms. You can see the darker clouds now showing up. This is looking, I believe, to the northwest. So this is looking towards Philadelphia. Can't really see the detail on those yet, but yeah, definitely seeing the wind kind of surging out in those. Some pockets of some gustier winds. Same for that area, approaching areas around Hilltown. They're going to extend out a just a standard severe thunderstorm warning across northern parts of New Jersey, Manville, Somerville, Hillsborough, back into areas around Flemington, Clyde, and Greenbrook. It's essentially continuing to follow the 78 corridor. So we'll continue to watch this. This is going to get into some populated areas in New York City. Eventually, this could be the storm that gets towards the New York City area. Here's a look out of Staten Island. It's basically at, let's see, this is at 278 and Forest Avenue. It's a nice view because it's right here at Old Place. It's at the Goethals Bridge on 278 there. So it's a little bit of a higher look. It looks to the west, northwest, basically towards those storms. That was a blue sky view just a little bit ago when I was setting up the stream. It definitely looks a little more cloudy, a little hazier. Kind of see the overshooting tops, a little bit of those storms on the horizon. So those storms are just working into New Jersey right now. Still seeing some pockets there, 60, 65 mile an hour winds just to the south of the Easton area, around Narrowsville, Amsterdam, New Jersey, Frenchtown, New Jersey, and areas approaching areas of like Raritan Township, Flemington, and those areas out towards Bloomsbury. Hey, Stones, how's it going today? Yeah, it's time for the Northeast apparently now. So watching storms pushing into the I-95 corridor, Maryland, Pennsylvania, New Jersey. We've had a destructive warning and a tornado warning in West Virginia already. So I'm glad I started streaming because it's been a slightly busier afternoon. That tornado warning, by the way, was in a 0% tornado risk. So that does show you that through the summertime, really any severe storms can occasionally produce tornadoes. Yeah, that was in an area of mostly just damaging wind risk. The slight risk basically extends from the upper Ohio Valley across the mid-Atlantic into extreme southern parts of Connecticut. And then our other slight risk just kind of getting started out near Fort Stockton. I know some chasers are pretty excited about Fort Stockton because this area has usually slower moving storms, a lot of really good structural shots of storms on kind of some cool arid landscapes. And the other nice thing is that generally some of these big storms out here don't affect that many people. So it is nice for storm chasers. They can get some really good, quality shots of storms, and it's not affecting a lot of people. But apparently they do have broadcast media reports out there. So that was a broadcast media report of large hail and gusty winds. So those storms are covered. Yeah, it looks a little quieter across the plains. Definitely a little bit quieter for severe weather the next couple days. Colorado may be active tomorrow. Yeah, little low end tornado risk, eastern Colorado. We might get some land spouts, and then mostly a hail risk. So there is a slight risk tomorrow. Fort Morgan down to Springfield, Colorado, Burlington, Cheyenne Wells, Hugo, staying east of the Front Range. And then they have added a small slight risk on Friday for the Texas Panhandle, as well as western Oklahoma, Buffalo, Woodward, Sayre, Childress, Paducah, Clarendon, Pampa, and areas around Amarillo. Yeah. I'm doing pretty good today. No new mesoscale discussions. I should check these at fire risk the next couple of days. A little bit lower end fire risk, but parts of Arizona and New Mexico fire risk today. All right, back in here, Philadelphia, Kennett Square over to Glassboro, New Jersey. They've extended that warning out. 60-mile-an-hour wind, quarter-size hail. Right now, storms are behaving. They're not crazy high-end severe, but again, they do have a history of producing some damaging winds. We've seen trees down, power lines down. And actually, there's some other research that shows you don't even need 60-mile-an-hour winds, especially if soils are saturated, things like that, older trees. There's a bunch of different factors, but it sometimes does not take 60-mile-an-hour wind for trees to get down. So they've also expanded those warnings in Maryland to the Eastern Shore, Chesapeake City, Chesterton, and areas east of the Chesapeake Bay. Here's a look at that area around Chesapeake City. Yeah, the Georgetown, Maryland area. I believe is right in there. Maybe not. Somewhere down in here. Yeah, I'm doing good. Not super high-end severe weather today, but I enjoy covering severe weather. Our chat and our weather community, if you're new here, give us a like and subscribe, and feel free to join our chat. We got a lot of good people in chat on our various streams, and yeah, it's a good group. So I'm happy. Can't complain today, Stones. Cruz, did you have more finals today, or was that yesterday? Are you done with finals now? Still seeing those gusty winds. Milford, this is coming into areas around Frenchtown. Let's scope this a little bit more. Still seeing 60, 62-mile-an-hour wind, 55. So yeah, the wind has come down in that storm as it's crossing into New Jersey. This was a considerable threat, severe storm just a few minutes ago. But we'll watch that one. It still has a little bit of a bow on it. It's not super pronounced, but it does have a little bit of this backward C shape. Could get some gustier winds in there. Wasn't sure if this camera's just having some issues or if it's actually that windy. It might be a little bit of wind out ahead of these storms. I don't have any monitor right in that area around Georgetown, but it's warm. It's certainly warm out ahead of these storms. 93 degrees, dew point 63, feels like 94, so there's actually a bit of a heat index. Winds gusting to 12 there in Delaware. A little closer to the Chesapeake Bay, winds gusting to 20. So a little breezy out ahead of these storms. No, there shouldn't be much of a delay on the stream. Oh, Cruz, I kept your advice from the stream in Mississippi, and I believe all the new subscribers only have to wait like a minute to join the chat. So, and that's been working. I haven't seen any crazy bot or anything like that. We haven't had any problems in the chat. So I'm happy that that was a great suggestion on that high level severe day. Wow, yeah, parts of New Jersey are cooking. Down towards the Jersey Shore, 95 degrees, feels like 98. It's sticky, dew point of 66. Yeah, no, that's been a big help, and yeah, I haven't seen any bot increases or anything, so I'm gonna stick with that. Parts of New Jersey got to like 100 yesterday, and this is a bit early for this part of the country. Manhattan is looks like checking in at 91, feels like 92 right now. So yeah, that is it's a warm day across this part of the country, the Northeast. There's a look back at Staten Island. Just west of there, 93 degrees in Linden, New Jersey. So yeah, there's definitely a bunch of storm fuel. Back behind that cold front and behind those storms, rain-cooled 70s already being reported there around Reading, Pennsylvania, 73 degrees. So it cools off basically, how long is that? That is about 65 miles. It drops 20 degrees between Mount Holly, New Jersey and Reading, Pennsylvania. It goes from 92 to 73. That's a pretty sharp contrast. Yeah, you're down in you're getting some of those random kind of summery look there across the southeast. A little bit more concentrated. There is a little bit of a boundary in here, so a little more concentrated storms. Middle Tennessee, back through much of Mississippi. The storms are really liking Mississippi today. And I'm surprised we haven't seen any flash flood warning out of this area in southern and southeast Louisiana. But yeah, you guys are getting some isolated to scattered storms across the parts of Alabama. A little more concentrated southeast Alabama. And more storms maybe later today if those kind of work their way from Mississippi into parts of central Alabama. The southeast needs the rain, so some more rain without a lot of severe weather would be a pretty nice thing for a lot of the southeast. Although we are getting into Memorial Day weekend, so I'm sure a lot of people would like to not have rain over Memorial Day weekend, but still seeing that considerable threat. This is riding along I-79 in central parts of West Virginia, Frametown, O'Brien, Spread. Still seeing considerable threat, 70-mile-an-hour winds and golf ball size hail. This storm has had a history of a couple tornado warnings. It had a destructive warning for baseball size hail a little bit ago. They've actually just dropped the hail a little bit, so they're actually dropping the considerable threat tag on it, but still potentially some hail and wind right along I-79. We'll still keep an eye on that storm. Yeah, I think that's what most people are. Most people are hoping get the rain in the next couple days, and then hopefully it kind of lets up for the weekend. New severe warnings pushing into northern Delaware, and then into southern New Jersey, Alloway Township, New Jersey, and then watching more outflow dominant storms, but they could bring some gusty winds approaching the eastern shore of Maryland, crossing the Chesapeake Bay. DC might get out of this without a lot of severe weather. The storms that were severe earlier west of DC have kind of fizzled as they've come off the higher terrain of the Shenandoahs. So we'll see. It looks like those are kind of behind a rain-cooled boundary. Should be a little bit more stable over DC right now. And Baltimore, you guys are in the thick of it right now. Just not quite severe storms, but just sub-severe storms across the Baltimore area. That's still a big hassle for rush hour. And then Upper Providence, Drexel Hill, West Town, Chester Heights. Severe storms working into areas around Philadelphia. Oh, yeah. There it is. There's our area around Philly. You can see those storms. A little bit, maybe of a shelf cloud kind of look to it. Yeah, definitely getting closer to the Philadelphia area. Those storms, still at about 30 miles an hour, are roughly about 15 minutes to Center City, Philadelphia, 15, 20 minutes to Camden, down towards the airport, about 12 minutes to the airport. That's going to affect flights. I wish I might talk to the Aguacero guys. I have not seen any weather app, radar app that has flight information at the same time as. I'd love to like be able to just click on the Philadelphia airport and get like flight information while I'm still on the radar app. So I'll have to talk to some people and see if that's a possibility. But yeah, this is going to affect a lot of flights across the Northeast. Probably already is. Philadelphia, DC, Baltimore, both the DC airports, and then maybe not quite New York yet, but if it's not affecting New York flights yet, it's going to be in a little while. And it may already be because a flight from the west has to go up and around instead of going, straight through. So it may already be factoring into some delays already. Crew, did you redact a message or did I do have like a mod bot on that like flags sensitive words and stuff. Did you retract your message or did the bot kind of force you to? Because Cruz is a good guy. Another severe warning. This is a newer severe warning in Connecticut. Little pocket there around Lewisboro. I guess that's southeast New York, about to cross into Connecticut, around the Bridgeport area. Okay. Yeah, I missed the typo, so I didn't see that. But yeah, other than the waiting a minute for new subscribers, I do have like a light mod bot that helps kind of flag stuff. I had that since I started streaming. It just kind of runs in the background. But I think it can still get overtaken by spammers and stuff, so it's not a perfect situation either. Let's see. Take a look at the Jersey cameras. Slowly getting towards those Philly areas. And yeah, starting to get a little gray across New York City. re-upping that warning there. Hillsborough, Raritan, Somerville, Franklin Township, Liberty Corner. Getting closer to the New York City metro. Good news is right now they've dropped that considerable threat. 60-mile-an-hour winds, small hail. We do have a new flash flood warning that's been issued. Flash flood warning, radar indicated flash flood warning. These storms aren't moving that fast. It's like 1 inch to 2 inches of rain in the next couple hours there. So yeah, especially with an urban area around Philadelphia, the landscape doesn't drain as well as out in more rural parts where there's more greenery. And yeah, with urban landscape, slow-moving storms, that's a recipe for flash flooding. Yeah, should be. Stones, I don't know if we've had many. Yeah, like this area. The lighter yellow is all, yeah, these are all severe thunderstorm watches. And then the darker yellow, those are all overlapping severe thunderstorm. Instead of, yeah, because it's kind of a slightly broken line of storms, it's not a full solid line. They've warned them all individually. So yeah, that's one severe thunderstorm warning, the darker yellow. That's another. There's some areas where they overlap each other. Like this area around Trenton, it overlaps. The Philadelphia area has a couple different severe warnings. I go back and forth. They could have probably just issued one big severe warning, but since they're kind of a little bit of a broken line, it's fine. And then the other yellow is a special marine warning, which is essentially the marine warning version of a severe thunderstorm warning. That's why it's a similar color. There are some different criteria for special marine warnings. That's why, like this area here, they just dropped it, but not necessarily impacted by a severe storm right now, but there are gustier winds, so that affects some of the observed winds above 34 knots. So there's a couple different criterias, but yeah, those are your. And then new warnings will flash. I have a setting that new warnings flash for a couple seconds. If it's a brighter yellow, like these two warnings here, this is a standard severe thunderstorm warning. This is a considerable threat. So there's you can kind of visually see a little bit of difference between the considerable threat and the standard severe thunderstorm warning. So yeah, this storm has gone back to considerable threat for golf ball size hail, ping pong to golf ball size hail, 70-mile-an-hour winds. That's that same storm that's been tracking across that same area. Do we have any storm reports out of that? Yeah, we do. We have more storm reports. Power lines down. Trees down on Elk River Road. We had 1.25 inch hail earlier. So yeah, that storm has had a history of producing some damage reports. Yeah, it's a decent day for severe weather. That's why I popped on for the stream. There's enough severe weather. It's not fully isolated. The selfish part of me, I would love to stream every single severe warning ever, but we just can't. And tornado warning, I'd love to stream every single tornado warning, but I do have a life outside of sitting here, so sometimes I miss a warning or two, especially if it's like a late in the day or early morning or something. And yeah, through the summer, we'll try and get as many streams as we can, because the summer does have a lot of severe weather, but especially if it's if it stays really isolated, then it's typically not a streaming day. This is a little bit more concentrated, so if it was just maybe this area here where we only have 1 or 2 warnings in a whole region, probably not streaming a day like that. If it's like this where we have a pretty concentrated area of severe weather, then I'll pop on for a stream. And speaking of down here, let's take a look at these storms in Fort Stockton. Some big hailstorms down here, but they're fairly remote. South of Fort Stockton, along 385 down towards Marathon, Texas. And then those are now pushing east of Alpine and east of Marfa, Texas. We'll see if anything gets towards Eagle Pass, Del Rio area. Those areas do have a severe threat through the evening. There's some storms in northern Mexico and some of that higher terrain. Those can sometimes drift into Texas in the Big Bend. I use Weatherfront on my phone. I like it on my phone. They don't have the desktop yet, although I know they're working on it. I'm interested to see their desktop and see how it functions. I'm enjoying Aguacero weather so far. And just until a couple weeks ago, we were pretty much regular users of Radar Omega, which I still do find nice, but it's been glitchy lately, so it kind of... I decided to check out a couple different other things. But on my phone, I have Weatherfront, and it works really nice on my phone. So if you follow us on social media, you'll probably see some screenshots from Weatherfront every now and then. Darn, I just missed it on the next. We were looking at the shot out of the Staten Island area. I just missed a big lightning bolt. It was like center of the screen on our Maryland camera. Yeah, I'm interested to see how their desktop performs. And how some of their features look on the desktop. Yeah, I love the models. The data I can layer on here is really, really cool. I used it just a little bit before they had the live weather, but now that they have live radar, that makes this a little more usable for my kind of stuff. But I do want to get into some more, through the summer, get into some more forecast videos, and I plan to use the outlooks and the weather data for forecast videos. And they keep adding more stuff to Aguacero weather too. They've added, they've had a couple updates just in the last week or so. And I believe they had one just earlier today that just made, it was kind of a background update. I don't think it did anything visually or anything like feature-wise, but I believe they announced earlier that they made it a little bit less memory intensive or something, which I haven't had any issues with it. Yeah, their update last night, it looks like drastically increased performance when using contour data. They, I guess, said that some issues had an issue with some lag and stuff, speed and stability when they were using contour data. I haven't had that issue, but yeah, so it was more of a background update today, but the last couple updates were some added tools and visual updates and stuff. All right, let's check these areas. Raritan Township, Flemington, still seeing that wind profile. Let's get in here and take a look at some wind. Still seeing kind of 60, 50, 60 mile an hour winds. That storm has actually decreased in intensity just a little bit. Still coming into some pretty populated areas. South Branch, Three Bridges, Flemington, into areas there around Raritan. And then approaching areas towards Bound Brook. It's going to get along the I-20 or US 22 corridor. That'll basically take it right towards Staten Island and eventually Newark and Manhattan. Yeah, I want to take some time once some of the severe weather. I'm thinking about redesigning my whole layout. I've had some ideas, but I got to kind of do that on a day there's not a lot of severe weather and there's been so much. I just got to take a lot of time to kind of go through and play around with some layout options. Still seeing some strong winds now approaching the areas around Trenton in that 60-mile-an-hour range. Yeah, 60, small hail. That's going to get into some pretty populated areas in central New Jersey, a bunch of different counties involved there. Just want to check. Still seeing about 30 miles to the east. So we have a little bit of ways to go. Not quite to New York City, still in about 45 minutes. Looks like New York City would probably be about 60, 65 minutes or so. Storm Prediction Center did flag that this area in New Jersey is the greatest short-term threat for some significant winds in that 70-mile-an-hour range. Yeah, not a high-end tornado day, but severe weather nonetheless. We're closing in on some of those bigger cities now with severe storms. This camera faces east, so the storms are kind of sneaking up on this camera, but you can see it's gotten pretty dark. This is just east of Philadelphia, the Walt Whitman Bridge, I-676, rush hour traffic headed into New Jersey. Yeah, it's about 6 o'clock Eastern. So yeah, your rush hour is not going to be very fun across the Philadelphia area with severe storms, Darby, Havertown, down towards areas around, now pushing into Bridgeport. And then we have other severe storms in areas around Wilmington, Wilmington and Newark. Not quite down to Dover yet. And then still seeing strong storms, Chesapeake City, Betterton, down to Chestertown. Keeping an eye on these cameras here. This is out of the eastern shore, the Sassafras River, Maryland 213, which is right in here. I think it's right, yeah, Georgetown, right there. On the Sassafras River, just on the east side of the Chesapeake Bay. So that's actually a nice camera that's looking at those severe storms that are just north of that position. I do like this. This is a really cool feature, how I can just kind of fly around, click on the latest warning. Still seeing that strong to severe storm. They've backed it back down, 60-mile-an-hour winds. It seems like every time they back it off the considerable threat, then it goes back to considerable threat. So we'll keep an eye on this. Gasaway, West Virginia, along I-79 up towards Burnsville. Another severe warning storm, Rock Cave, West Virginia. Yeah, they're cool guys too. I like what they're doing too. And I'm planning on tuning into your stream sometime. I think I mentioned it the other day. That day I had the allergy attack and I was going to tune into your stream that was after mine, and I just completely crashed out as soon as I hit the pillow. Storms approaching Liberty Corner. They the Stormfront freaks have a cool kind of setup too, and they do a lot of like, I don't know, I can't, what they're doing is kind of unique. They're very forward thinking. I think they're getting a lot of younger people interested in weather too. They they bring a lot of energy and hype, but not in like the clickbaity kind of hype type of way. They do have science backgrounds and meteorology backgrounds, so they bring a nice mix of things. And then I'm trying on this channel to push more of the sciencey side of things. We get a lot of cool questions about meteorology on our chat sometimes, so I do like answering those. If we have time to diagram stuff, I really like the draw tools and diagramming things out. So a little bit of rotation showing in that cell. We'll keep an eye on that one. Yeah, this is the one area today that does have a 2% tornado risk. 2% anywhere, pick a location in here, 2% chance within 25 miles. I do feel like people that don't follow weather, like just general public, when meteorologists on TV or even us here show these risk assessments and the outlooks, I feel like people underestimate, because if they're not into weather, just kind of casually looking at stuff, we may post something about a 2% tornado risk, and I think people think 2% is really low. It's all about probabilities and statistical analysis, and it's 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 not just 2%, it's 2% chance within 25 miles of the location. So it's kind of a tricky way for people that don't really follow weather, or people that don't have like a science or statistical mindset. The Storm Prediction Center has a tricky way of kind of conveying that message, I think, to some parts of the general public. These are kind of forming a little bit more of a cluster here. There is a cluster of, surprised it's only being warned for quarter size hail, but there's a couple different hail cores in here right along 385 south of Fort Stockton. So we'll keep an eye on those. A lot of areas there, flash flooding is possible with a couple inches of rain. Yeah, so worried about parts of Texas. Perfect. Fly back into the Philadelphia area. They're just continuing that warning out another 43 minutes. That storm is right in downtown Philadelphia now. Oh, this is going to be a messy shot. Rain starting to fall. This is on the eastern approach to the Walt Whitman Bridge. I wish our west-facing camera was working right now. Otherwise, we'd have a really cool shot of storms coming through Philadelphia, but the west-facing camera is down for maintenance. Yeah, it's just wind and rain are just picking up right about now. There's a closer look. That's going to be a messy rush hour. And that is like right. Yeah, that's Ben Franklin. Where's the Walt Whitman? It's right here. Yeah. Yeah, that's at Center City, Philadelphia. So that camera is right there. It's probably going to go downhill even more on that camera. Yeah, I've gotten comments like that before too. I've seen some meteorologists present it a couple different ways, like a TV meteorologist sometimes present it a couple different ways, have kind of like a medium, low, medium, high risk. So I don't know. I think if you start talking about low, medium, and high risks, then you kind of start overlapping with the different general risk categories. So I don't know. There's not a great, not a perfect way to convey those. Yeah, that's not a bad way to say it too. And then I think the whole weather community is still working on how to convey the conditional intensity guidance. 49 knot gust just a couple minutes ago, looks like reported. That's a severe wind. That's about 57 mile an hour winds with that in the upper Delaware Bay. So right over here around Delaware City, we're seeing some pretty strong winds. Those are now through Wilmington. Should start to calm down across areas into Maryland, except the eastern shore. Today there was a land spout. Was that today? There hasn't been any tornado warnings, but I wouldn't be surprised if there's a land spout or two. If there is it on the? It might be on this storm. This storm has shown a little bit of rotation at times, crossing 385 south of Fort Stockton. Wouldn't surprise me. The only thing I'm surprised about these storms is they're only being warned for quarter-size hail. Yeah, the hail cores visually on the reflectivity as well as well, let's take a look. Yeah, there's a hail spike in the correlation coefficient for this storm. Yeah, that hail core has a hail spike on it. ZDR shows a couple pockets of hail. It's probably being underwarned for hail. It's probably larger hail than the inch. And our hail tracking is also picking up on larger hail. So yeah, that's probably being underwarned. Potentially 2-inch diameter hail in a couple of these cores. So yeah, usually out here we see some of the larger hail warnings. I think a couple of these cores in here could have at least ping pong to even closer to lime size hail. There's kind of three cores in here, all along Highway 385, south of Fort Stockton. We had our short live stream last night for the severe warnings and the tornado warnings in the London, Ontario area. And last night, after things kind of settled down across Ontario, there's the latest Walt Whitman look there. That's not a fun rush hour. But there were a couple pictures of some funnels, at least, if not a couple tornado pictures. There was some debate on social media that one or two of the photos may have been AI. So, but yeah, there was a couple other funnel and tornado pictures that I think we did repost that were mostly legit looking. So it looks like there may have been a couple QLCS spin ups. And then I saw there was video of at least one video of at least a gust NATO, if not a weak kind of QLCS tornado too. So Southern Ontario yesterday was pretty busy. Yeah, it'll come around. Here, I can put it in the chat. Our X account is the same as our YouTube handle. And it should come around where it says subscribe. There it is. Yeah, Facebook too. Facebook, we post sometimes our forecast videos and forecast analysis, and we'll repost like the link to the stream, but to share actual like damage or photos, send it to the X. Seeing those gusty winds now. Now this warning does include the Newark, Long Island, parts of Long Island around Brooklyn, Manhattan, and also Staten Island. So it looks like we're getting those storms into the boroughs in a little bit. 50 minutes. That's going to get through most of that warning. Oh, nice. Yeah, I was going to look for that. I didn't see them post about it yet. I tried to look earlier. Um, I'll have to find it more. Are they still active on X? Because the account that I follow for the Northern Tornadoes Project hasn't posted since like December. I'll have to just like manually look for it. Oh, geez. Is that flooding beans? Oh, that's ugly. Oh, yeah. Flash flood warning. Observed considerable flash flood warning, DeKalb and Fulton counties. Storms are starting to diminish across Atlanta, but oh, yeah, they were just kind of sitting there for a while. And yeah, that kind of shows you don't need severe thunderstorm warnings for severe weather, especially in the way of flooding. Some boundary interactions, and they just kind of sat there, it looks like. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll have to check that out then. Because I follow the Northern Tornado Project, but they have not posted on X since like a year ago. Let me just pull them up. I'll just pull up their website and see if they have any updates. One of those areas of rotation yesterday went right over Western University, where they're located, but I don't believe it touched down in downtown London. Okay, they do have a dashboard. Yeah, they haven't loaded it into their dashboard yet, but I would definitely keep an eye on that. Oh, geez. Yeah, that's not going to be a fun rush hour there across the Atlanta area. Mm. Wouldn't be surprised if we start to see some similar types of pictures, maybe from the Philadelphia area. Philadelphia has a flash flood warning as well for a couple inches of rainfall. At least right now, the Philadelphia area, the storms are moving, and actually they're weakening a little bit as they cross into New Jersey. So still a pretty strong storm over Philadelphia, over Camden, down to Gloucester Township. But that storm has weakened some. Yeah, and Stones asked about this earlier. They're throwing warnings out all over here. So all these warnings are like overlapping with each other. It'd be okay just to kind of warn the whole line, I think. But they've also warned this little tiny cell out near Toms River, New Jersey, gusts to 60 miles an hour. Yeah, it's real close to the radar site, so looks like we're getting a pretty good low-level look at those. Storms coming into the New York City metro. There's a look at our camera out of Staten Island, looking at those storms back towards New Jersey. And let me see. This is what Stones posted earlier here on X, but it's hard to see because it's probably a water-covered camera. But that is traffic on I-75 and I-85 in Atlanta, and that is all water. It is a completely water-covered highway. Yeah, I threw the stream together, so I did not have a sharing screen ready for this, but that is cars basically stopped at a water cover. So the one good thing is they've stopped. They're not in the water, but that is a flooded highway that's done. You're not getting through there. That's on a 511 camera too. So yeah, that's just all water. You can see the cars at the very top of your screen. Hmm. All right, back to our live view. This is out of the area along the Walt Whitman Bridge. And then that's our view out of Staten Island, looking to the west-northwest at those clouds starting to roll into New York City Metro. Yeah, that's not going to be fun. That's probably not clearing anytime soon either. Like, they're going to have to probably have those people, I don't know, back out to the next exit or something. And the one concerning thing with Bean's picture is I didn't see any emergency vehicles in that shot. Yeah, that's going to need something. Some good news here for this area in West Virginia. We're not seeing those destructive or considerable threat storms anymore. Still a couple severe warnings across parts of West Virginia. This storm has had a history of producing severe weather. It looks to be on the downtrend, approaching Garrison, West Virginia. Yeah, that's the storm that is diminishing in intensity. These other two are kind of just maintaining themselves right now. They've also dropped the weather watch across parts of south central Pennsylvania, and then also across much of Maryland. They've been dropped from the severe weather watch. May get another couple rounds of storms, but this area is all rain cooled across Maryland. So those storms have a lot less fuel to work with. They should be able to wind down through the evening. Double check. Yeah, there's a couple storms, showers and storms around still in the Baltimore, Washington area, but they're in a rain-cooled environment. These storms should weaken as they push to the east. And yeah, we've seen a weakening with the storms across the Delmarva Peninsula too. So yeah, the focus is shifting into New Jersey right now. Areas in southern New Jersey, the lower Alloways area. Strong storm there around Port Penn, lower Alloways. We still see the severe storm coming into areas east of Philadelphia around Camden, down to Pine Hill. 60-mile-an-hour winds. I don't think there's much hail in here. It's mostly going to be a wind issue. And then let's get some updated storm reports. Yeah, seeing a little bit more storm reports here. Trees down on Highway 1. That's in Delaware County, Pennsylvania. Chester County, large pine tree down. We did get an inch hail report, quarter-size hail by a trained weather spotter there in Wayne in Delaware County. So yeah, these are all tree down reports, power line down reports. Pretty consistent swath of those. Some other wind reports earlier. Baltimore looks like gusted to about 66. Personal weather station there on the south side of Baltimore, gusted to 66. We've seen some 46-mile-an-hour gusts just a little bit ago. So yeah, this storm, again, you don't always need severe winds to get trees down. But there's been a decent swath of probably some 40 to 60-mile-an-hour winds in this cluster of storms. And surprised we haven't seen more reports in this area. This Allentown to Easton, PA area, that was warned for a considerable threat earlier. All right, sorry about that. Organizing some dinner plans for tonight, so got to get those important plans in. Yeah, this is a great shot of the storms headed towards the New York City metro. This is looking, this is looking towards the west northwest, looking at storms headed towards New York City. It's interesting. I for a second I had to double check that we were looking west, but there's more people coming into Staten Island right now than there are people leaving. So the traffic that is closest to this camera is traveling westbound. So that is going into New Jersey. I think we're gonna go out probably tonight for dinner. But just kind of coordinating some timings. Good news is for New York, this storm is a little bit outflow dominant. You can see the outflow boundary surging out. So that's probably why we have had a reduction of some of these severe warnings. We're not seeing the considerable threat anymore. And then still some stronger storms over the Long Island Sound. Special marine warning out for those storms. I believe those were the same storms. Yeah, they were severe earlier as they pushed through the Bridgeport area. And they may skirt that eastern northeast side of Long Island, Oldfield, Stony Brook, out towards Northville. Keep an eye on those storms. I'm not seeing as strong as storms across the northern parts of this severe weather watch. So areas around Orange County, New York, Newburgh, Waterbury, into southern Connecticut, you might not get the worst of the weather. And yeah, you'll see they continue to extend out the warnings, and these are special marine warnings. So all of like New York Harbor, the lower New York Bay is all under special marine warnings, which is actually a factor here because there are ferry networks and everything. So this is actually could affect marine transportation in this area. And there's actually now a storm that's gone up over Staten Island as well. Yeah, that's right. You were saying you got quite the busy household there, Stones. It was actually, I think it was. I will say it was my turn to cook dinner tonight, but with streaming and stuff, I'm probably not gonna have dinner ready by the time we're normally gonna eat. So it's easier just to go out or call in something. Let's check down here at Fort Stockton. Yeah, still seeing a severe warning around Fort Stockton, points south of there. I think it was Beans. Was that you earlier? Said there was a land spout out here. I wouldn't be surprised if there's been a couple of different land spouts. This area has the highest chance of a tornado today. Not seeing as much rotation though. It's actually mostly a cluster of storms now, so a little bit different than modeling showed. We may get more storms down here, but modeling showed a little bit more discrete cells. We now have kind of a cluster that's starting to push east. And yeah, those before they kind of clustered up, they did have a couple more discrete cells with likely some larger hail. Probably close to there to that ping pong to golf ball to lime size hail earlier. And then, yeah, there's still a bunch of hail producing storms in northern Mexico. We'll see if any works into areas around Eagle Pass and Del Rio later tonight. Today also is the anniversary of the 2013 Moore, Oklahoma tornado. So a lot of people are recapping that, and probably a lot of people on edge a little bit around the Moore, Oklahoma area. No severe weather expected across the Oklahoma City metro today. Or the next couple days, maybe Friday, might get a little bit more. There are some storms across the Texas Panhandle. That's actually a good thing. It's been dry and dusty out there. And yeah, there's a look at those storms approaching the New York City metro. Yeah, good on you though. That's a lot, but I like kids, but you got a bunch. You're probably busy. I'm surprised you're on this stream so much. You're busy with all the kids. Are any of them old enough? Oh no, you said they were young, right? Are any old enough that they're into weather yet? Seeing these storms there, let's see, they're down towards East Brunswick, approaching Shoreview, Elizabeth, New Jersey, and then further down through Princeton, Roosevelt, Trenton now, starting to clear out. And then same for Philly. Center City, Philly, and points to the north and west. Better situation, some rain. Keep an eye on flash flooding there with a flash flood warning. But severe weather really diminishes. And then back out towards Reading. I don't know if he's still in the chat, but Sleeveless Joe, did you get any severe weather in Montgomery Township earlier? That was in the Philly area. Storms seem to be slowly on the fade across parts of West Virginia. This is the strongest storm still, though. Along I-79 at Flatwoods, West Virginia. Still showing quarter-size hail, 60-mile-an-hour winds. Okay, I guess that's a better spread than I thought. I was busy on the last stream, so I thought maybe you said you had, I thought you said you had like 5 under 5 or something like that. That's a good spread then. If you're in the New York City area, you may get some gusty winds just out ahead of the storms too, with that gust front kind of working through. Strongest part of this storm is Newark and basically lower Manhattan and points south. So areas in Brooklyn, Staten Island, you're going to get some stronger storms versus up towards like Bronx and Mount Vernon, New York. That's a cool shot. A little bit of a shelf cloud look on the leading edge of this. That camera is pointed to the northwest, so that kind of darker shelfy cloud area is this little part of the storm that's kind of bowing out. Not really bowing, but just kind of the leading edge of that storm. And yeah, these storms have really died off across the eastern shore of Maryland. Actually kind of surprised about that. Down towards Dover, you may get this gusty gust front, but it looks like the storms are really not doing well across Delaware. Which is interesting, because there was definitely enough juice. I wonder if there was maybe capping. Oh, which we might be able to see. I forget about that. I can do this on Aguacero weather and pull up a sounding. There was a little bit of a cap in here. So that is likely why storms may not have been doing well in Delaware. See, it actually warms with height. This little warm nose in here. And then it starts to cool with height. Yeah, it was in the 90s across the Jersey Shore and Delaware. Same here, showing a little bit of a cap along the Jersey Shore, too. It's extremely warm, even all the way down to areas along the coastline, even into the Delmarva. It's still about 90 degrees. And yeah, Newark Airport, 93 right now. Here comes the rain into Staten Island. A little bit of a little bit of wind gust right there. That's a pretty cool look with the darker cloud above, and then you can kind of see those rain curtains. This camera's going to go downhill pretty quick. Yeah, we can do some really cool stuff with data visualization and things. That gust front's going to make it all the way to the shore well before those storms do. They do seem to be on the downtrend. Those storms in general looking a lot less windy than they were earlier. Look back at the Baltimore area, things are starting to clear out there. Still a lot of traffic, but wet roads. And yeah, storms have definitely exited most of Maryland right now. Very cool look on this camera from 511 New York. Starting to see a little bit of gusty winds on that camera. So severe weather is starting to wind down for a lot of these areas. It's basically going to be in the Northeast now, confined to areas along Long Island, and then really into like central New Jersey. Southern New Jersey, not quite as high end severe chance. Those storms are starting to break up too. And then a couple isolated severe storms still back here in West Virginia. That one is almost done. This is fading fast. That's probably going to be the lone severe storm for quite a while, or for at least a little longer. Gasaway up towards Burnsville along 79. And yeah, out here south and east of Fort Stockton along 285. I have a line cluster of severe storms, inch to inch and a half diameter hail in pockets, and then gustier winds. That could kind of up the wind threat if that does kind of line up into a bit of a bow echo. there it goes. It just took a minute to load. Taking a look at HRRR model and just kind of seeing what's going on here. Yeah, it wants to bring more storms in from the northern Mexico, so we may get another round across this area in Fort Stockton, Alpine. It maybe underdoes the, yeah, it keeps it more of a multi-cell cluster rather than a line segment, but it does take that line segment generally to the east, maybe getting up towards that I-10 corridor, southwest Texas. And then overnight, taking some of those storms even a little bit into more of the hill country, Del Rio. And potentially by tomorrow morning, coming through San Antonio. So we'll see if that verifies. There's a flood watch in effect for southern Texas and the coastal areas of Texas. So you could have more rain tomorrow morning with maybe some heavy storms. And then here's just the 18Z HRRR look at the severe risk tomorrow across eastern Colorado. Couple supercells possible. There is a low end tornado risk. Probably a good day for land spouts and then large hail. Eastern Colorado, far western Kansas. Tomorrow, Oklahoma may get some storms, but it's not supposed to be severe storms, just mostly just like more of that garden variety kind of summer. Across the south, there is a little bit of a system. There's a little kind of mid-level system. And that will bring a little bit extra rain into parts of Oklahoma and stuff tomorrow. Even Friday, you can kind of see that little spin in that mid-level system in there. But yeah, organized chances of severe weather the next couple days. Fairly minimal, fairly localized. Mostly in here on Thursday. And this model doesn't go out quite that far, but there may be a little bit more severe weather on Friday in the Texas Panhandle. All right, let's see. It's 6:42 in the Eastern time zone, 5:42 in the Central time zone. Yeah, we're seeing those storms working into the New York City metro from areas around Staten Island, and now the areas around Brooklyn have another storm that's popped up. Yeah, this storm's pretty feisty on its own. A couple stronger storms now across Long Island, including Brooklyn, around Coney Island. That storm definitely has come up pretty quickly in the last couple minutes. And that may actually be one of the stronger storms in the New York City metro right now. This is Brooklyn at 278, but I believe it looks north away from that storm. We should have a camera down by Coney Island. I should be able to track that storm for you guys too. Obviously, traffic looks like a big mess right now across most of New York City Metro. That might be the best view for now. All right. Guess that is the best view for now. Yeah, Stone's less of a tornado threat the next couple days, so mostly wind and hail threats, kind of isolated in those areas in the high plains, I guess, around Colorado. No big organized severe weather outbreaks, looks like, over the next couple days. So yeah, that's a nicer thing going into the Memorial Day holiday. Yeah, it does look like we'll get a break from the kind of the larger scale tornado outbreaks. And good news is that larger hail should stay out towards Colorado, eastern Colorado, a little bit more sparsely populated. But if you are out in eastern Colorado, potentially some big hail tomorrow. This is going to be a big mess still, even with the storms kind of winding down along the East Coast. This is still going to be a big mess for air travel. So if you have any plans traveling out of the Baltimore, Washington areas, Philadelphia, still seeing some stronger storms to the east of Philly, still kind of raining downtown Philly too. It's just going to be a mess for air travel still. In fact, here's a look. This is at the Newark Airport entrance on US 1. And it's just started raining there pretty hard. You can see the roads are getting wet. Yeah, this is just at the airport. And they've just re-upped that warning there too for areas around Newark, Perth Amboy, down through Aberdeen Township, down to Middletown. Not a fun commute home across the New York City Metro. And this camera here on Staten Island, the wind has just started to pick up on this camera. Yeah, that's getting into the heart of the storm right here around Elizabeth and Mariners Harbor, the Staten Island area, 278, and New York 440 on the west side of Staten Island. Other storms, they are starting to fizzle down in central New Jersey right now, around Marlborough, Long Branch. Those gusty winds have reached the shore with the lightning back west of the Jersey Shore right now. Then a weakening cluster of storms in South Jersey. It'll likely make its way towards the beaches, but severe weather is starting to get a little bit more limited across southern New Jersey. And we've lost all of our severe warnings and our watches across the Baltimore, Washington Metro. Looks like we've also lost our warnings across Virginia, West Virginia, and Virginia. Still kind of some isolated, stronger storms. But yeah, those are winding down. We had our one tornado warning today around the Charleston area. Those storms have made it all the way up through central West Virginia, approaching areas around Rock Cave. And now one strong to severe storm looks like over the Knoxville metro in Tennessee. Another heavily traveled area there, 640 and 75, especially south sides of Knoxville. There are some scattered storms across the southeast. Talked about that earlier if you're just joining us on the stream. The Atlanta metro hit hard with storms earlier, quieting down for the rainfall, but still flash flooding. Considerable threat observed flash flooding. And yeah, we had the I-75, I-85 is all flooded out right now. Checking in on the Birmingham area. I believe the SEC baseball tournament's going on in Birmingham. Looks like most of the storms, I think, have stayed away from the Birmingham metro for now, but you may get some storms later coming in from Mississippi, and I'm still surprised we haven't seen a lot of flash flood warnings across this area. It's been raining and storming all day across southern parts of Louisiana, between Baton Rouge and New Orleans. New Orleans can flood just with a general thunderstorm if it sits too long over the city. And yeah, still seeing severe storms south and east of Fort Stockton, north of I-9 or Route 90 up to just south of I-10. Severe warning there continues. That's going to be for Pecos, Brewster, and Terrell counties, southwest Texas. Yeah, we're in that like no population area. I have to zoom in, and I don't think there's any actual like census designated places out here. So not affecting a lot of people, but and if you live out here, you're probably used to it. Because this time of year into the summertime, that Fort Stockton area gets quite a few larger hailstorms. New warning for 60-mile-an-hour winds. It's a base level severe thunderstorm warning. They're going to extend that out into Long Island, Long Beach, Oceanside. That's going to include Jamaica Bay and JFK Airport. Looks like all the New York City airports are pretty much getting storms at the moment. And that extends out to Levittown and Hicksville on Long Island. Still seeing 60-mile-an-hour winds, quarter-size hail. Expect wind or tree and power line damage, 30 miles an hour progress. So nothing's really changed on those storms. Pull back up the local storm report, see if anything else has come in. Surprised we haven't seen any new local storm reports out of that eastern Pennsylvania area. But a couple new reports. Hopewell Township in Mercer County. Several trees and wire lines down. In the Trenton area, Burlington, wires down. Let's see, Doylestown, Pennsylvania, down tree on PA 611. Traffic disruptions. So yeah, this whole swath of storms has had a history of doing some wind damage, knocking down some trees and power lines. So far, the highest recorded wind I think we've had so far is out of the Baltimore area, 66-mile-an-hour wind so far there on the southeast sides of Baltimore. So yeah, the severe weather has verified for today. We've definitely had the considerable threat winds at times, and then we've had the heavy rain. Hasn't been a big hail day across the Northeast. See if those storms have made it into Brooklyn yet. Not quite. That's a cool look, though. It's getting darker just over this camera, and then it's still looking to the north where it's a little bit sunnier. the one commute in New York that's not bad right now is if you're leaving Manhattan going up towards the north. And yeah, if you're headed out towards like Paterson, New Jersey, Clifton, Westwood, that area actually goes away from the severe weather. But yeah, if you're headed out through Jersey, Staten Island, Brooklyn, and Long Island, you're going to run into those severe storms. The wind profiles have generally come down on these storms. So there may be some pockets in here, some isolated gusts to 60, but probably more routine is going to be those 30 to 50 mile an hour gusts. There's some lightning on that camera too. Yep, definitely some cloud to ground lightning. So if you're out, definitely that's always a severe hazard. Yeah, not seeing a lot of hail in these storms. Maybe had a little bit more concentrated hail in eastern Pennsylvania earlier. But yeah, the hail has come down for the most part. This is our more consistent hailstorm. It's the storm that had the tornado warning earlier north of Charleston, West Virginia. That storm is getting a new severe thunderstorm warning. 60 mile an hour winds, quarter size hail. What did this get at some point? It was probably over, yeah, it was warned for baseball size hail at some point. That was in this area here around Turner and Reamer. And our MRMS radar data says maybe close to 2-inch diameter hail. But yeah, this storm has done some damage across the central parts of West Virginia. And yeah, same for that rotation track. We saw the tornado warning earlier. Say it may have had another point where it had a little bit more rotation as well. North of Big Chimney, across that area around Reamer. And then not really seeing much rotation anymore in that storm. It's more kind of bowed out into more of a line segment. We have a bunch of cool visualization tools here on Aguacero weather. We can see different probabilities for lightning. So that also kind of is one slight indicator of storm strength. We're seeing generally the lightning coming down in these storms. But yeah, if you have outside plans, there are some isolated to scattered storms across parts of northern Virginia. We can see rotation tracks. We can see flash flooding. All kinds of cool things. Yeah, we can kind of see MRMS of precip. Let's see. So some areas here around Philly maybe got an inch or two. Some of this does get contaminated with any larger hail. So if there was any larger hail in here, that could contaminate the radar product just a little bit, but shows you some of those stronger storms. And then back across Texas. Yeah, seeing those storms there behind that line of storms, which did get a new warning. Let's see. There it goes, just popped in. Quarter size hail, 60-mile-an-hour wind. Emergency management reported that. So yeah, that's going to continue working east there along I-10. Oh, this is Aguacero weather. They've put out some recent updates lately, and I've been pretty happy with it over the last, I don't know, how long have we been using this cruise? Maybe like 2 weeks or so. I think we switched about 2 weeks ago. Yeah, we can do a bunch of cool visualizations. I have a bunch of different data layers I can throw on here with the HRRR model. I'll turn off some of them so we can see. Actually, this is a little bit of a good visualization. This is why we haven't had really a lot of tornado risk today. Some of the data layers, this may look a little bit confusing, but if you look at pretty carefully, I have 3 different layers of wind profiles on here. We have surface winds in the black, basically kind of out of the southwest. We have mid-level winds in the white, out of almost due west. And then we have upper-level winds kind of out of the west, a little bit northwest. We don't have a lot of turning with height if you look at these wind profiles. So that's one of the reasons why it's more of a linear mode. It's not really a tornado mode today. When we see tornadoes, we got winds usually out of the south or even southwest, sometimes even southeast. But in general, if we see more of a tornado day, we get winds out of the south, mid-level winds out of the south or southwest, and then sometimes even upper-level winds out of the complete opposite direction. So there you can see there's a lot of turning with height. We just don't have that today. That's why it's mostly a wind threat there. These storms are able to tap into some of those different levels of higher winds at the upper levels, but they're not tapping into spin. Yeah, we can do all kinds of stuff. Put on temperatures. So yeah, it was very hot today across the East Coast. Washington, Baltimore area, 90, 95 into coastal New Jersey. They put this into motion. Let's see here. We'll see as those storms get through. Cooling down behind those storms into the 70s, and we've seen that on the actual data, that it's in the 70s across eastern parts of Pennsylvania already. May get some more storms over the next 24 hours or so, but less of a severe chance. A couple other showers and storms this model wants to bring in across the Baltimore, Washington area. So maybe not done with the precip, but done with more of the concentrated severe risk. And yeah, you can see later tonight those cooler temperatures crashing in from the north. Like maybe getting down into the low 50s across northern New Jersey tonight. Staying a little warmer in the 60s across the Delmarva and Washington. So yeah, we can do all kinds of stuff here on Aguacero weather. I haven't even like fully scratched the surface with it yet. Oh, that's pretty cool. I know there's a bunch of, if you're into weather, there's a bunch of great weather apps, and even this one here, Aguacero, has a free tier. So if you're just kind of casually into weather and you don't want to put down a lot of money and you just need to see some data, you can see that pretty easy. And then yeah, for different uses, there's paid tiers and everything. And that basically just give you more data and more ways to visualize it, and different panels and things like that. I can put panels together. I tend to not do that on the stream just because I think We already have a lot of data generally on the stream. So very rarely I'll switch to like a dual panel, but and put like reflectivity on one side and velocity on the other. Yeah, I'm definitely keeping my eye on those. I know there are a couple people working on some weather apps too. You know what? I think I do technically. I just haven't used it much. I need to probably work on that over the summer too, and get our Discord page up and running. Seeing another stronger storm in down on the shore here. This is near Forked River, Lacey Township, Seaside Heights, New Jersey. Stronger storm there, gusty winds, 60-mile-an-hour winds. Yeah, I need to dig into the Discord side of things a little more. Check in the National Weather Service office just for any updates on things. Let's see. And yeah, the other thing I'll dig into, we'll probably post it on social media, but I do want to take a look and see what the Northern Tornadoes Project comes with the tornadoes that were in the southern Ontario area yesterday. Nothing new by the Storm Prediction Center. They haven't posted any new mesoscale discussions or anything like that lately, so that's good to see. Yeah, we were pretty busy over the weekend. I think the one stream was probably like 12 hours. I think we did another like 18 hours of streaming, maybe more than that. Let's see. Oh yeah, probably closer to like 20 hours of streaming on Sunday and Monday. And then we had our short stream yesterday with the London, Ontario tornadoes. And then I don't know how long we've been going today, probably a couple hours today with our Northeast severe risk. Luckily, this has stayed a little bit. It's definitely verified as severe weather today, but the watch goes talked about considerable threats, 70-mile-an-hour winds. We haven't, I don't think, seen those coming into New York City, so New York City's been kind of spared from some of the worst of it right now, which is nice. But still damaging winds and not much hail in here, but some wind gusts, heavy rain, a lot of lightning from basically Manhattan across Brooklyn and into the western portions of Long Island. Here's a good look with the storms moving over the Brooklyn area now. And rush hour traffic picking up and just being made worse by the rain and storms and gusty winds. And if you want beans, on like X or something, like shoot me a DM or something, and if you don't want to say it, like who your buddy is who's working on a streamer friendly radar, I'd check it out. Yeah, it was a busy one. I would have been on Saturday, but I had a big allergy attack on Friday. I couldn't, I was sneezing and eyes were watering, and I had to take off on Saturday. I just couldn't do it. But yeah, Saturday went bigger, severe than I thought it would. So it'd be funny if Beans DMs me or something. I might already know who it is, but I don't know for sure. So, but I know there are a couple people working on some more weather apps that should be coming out fairly soon. That was one reason I switched to this Aguacero weather. Is it's for me anyway, it's been pretty streamer friendly with my normal workflows. I really like the draw tools. Because I do like diagramming stuff every now and then. And I like the weather tracking tools. Let's see. Yeah, we can do like cell tracking. Or I can track out a line of storms and do a line track on them, which I really appreciate. And then all the data layers. But I've also enjoyed all the map customizations. I customize my map pretty heavily, but I tried to make it streaming friendly. That way, if people are watching on their phone or tablet, I did a bunch of test streaming when we first switched over, and I changed the city sizes and things, and just made sure things were kind of the right size for things, because I can change all the city sizes. If I do that, I'll take away a bunch, but so I wanted to make like the names and titles and stuff big enough that you should be able to see them pretty easily on the stream, but also small enough where they don't hopefully clutter things too much. Okay, 0%. Okay. Wow. Thanks for crushing that. 0% chance of knowing them, which is maybe true. Harsh though, but true. Oh, that'd be kind of cool. Yeah, there's not really an app that does like the overlays and stuff within the radar app. Still seeing that strong to severe storm down by Toms River, New Jersey. Things are clearing out. Most of these warnings should probably drop here in the next couple minutes. The one warning in the Mount Holly area does expire in the next minute or so. It looks like the storms have really died off in central New Jersey, Marlboro, Freehold, Long Branch. That warning goes another couple minutes, but they might just end up dropping it. This warning, I could see they re-up this one. It still goes another 15 minutes across much of Brooklyn, and then Long Island, Oceanside, Long Beach, Levittown, out towards Bethpage, and then back through Brooklyn. The severe storms have kind of skirted Manhattan. The lower east side, you're getting some pretty heavy rain right now, lightning, but you're technically out of the severe warning. Okay. Yeah, DM me and I'll check it out or something. And yeah, it does look like Connecticut, you guys should be in better shape with severe weather. The severe weather watch goes another hour and 45 minutes, but most of this should push away from the Jersey Shore before that. I wouldn't be surprised if they trim more counties from that watch. And back across north central West Virginia, still seeing that severe cluster of storms, 60-mile-an-hour winds, maybe some pockets of small hail, Rock Cave, over towards Sand Fork, West Virginia, Pickens. It's kind of into northeast West Virginia now, north central West Virginia. And you guys do have more rounds of storms there. There's also a new flash flood warning a few minutes ago. Brooksville, Kentucky, south of the Cincinnati metro. They also extended that warning for the Knoxville area. Bunch of slow-moving storms across the south today. Oh, yeah. That's a nice way of doing it. Because, yeah, every state has a totally different format for their traffic cameras. Some are better than others. There's some lightning on the Brooklyn cam. Some of these storms seem to be weakening across southwest Texas. Unfortunately, the cell that's along the I-10 corridor has a little bit of rotation in there too. And that's now starting to look almost exactly like that HRRR model showed earlier. So, yeah, that's interesting. It is transitioning from a line of storms to more of a multi-cell cluster there. That's a cool look on the Brooklyn cam. You can see the cloud deck pretty low, the high buildings. Kind of a mix still of sun and clouds. That's a neat look. Speaking of neat look of sun and clouds, here's I-10. Don't know which way yeah, I guess we're probably looking west. This is out by those severe storms, but I believe we're not maybe looking straight at those storms. Oh yeah, that's not a bad way to do it. I like that. Starting to lighten up across Staten Island. Still a lot of heavy rain. Northern New Jersey, Manhattan. But these storms are pushing into areas around Brooklyn and then points east. Take a look at our Staten Island camera. Yeah, it's still raining. Looks like, though, the visibility is coming up. Starting to see, like, the bridge in the background. So, yeah, definitely lightening up there across northern New Jersey. I figured. Did they, is that the Omaha office? I haven't seen any new tornado reports from Omaha. Yeah, that one was a bit of a frustrating tornado emergency. if there was no confirmed tornado, it means the emergency management report got it wrong. So, because that was the trickiest part about that, it was an emergency management confirmed tornado. And a lot of times you want to kind of treat those pretty seriously. I have not, but I'm sure it's probably similar to my reaction. We had just, I think on our stream, we had just looked at that storm and saw a little bit of rotation and a lot of just clutter, and then moved to another storm that was tornado warned, and then they dropped the tornado emergency, and I was like, what? Yeah, that was not the greatest day. Or not the greatest emergency. The storm next to it, the storm to its south and east, I believe, did produce a, and there's pictures of it on social media, but the next storm over did produce at least a short-lived kind of stovepipe tornado, but I don't believe that was in any danger of hitting that community that they put under the tornado emergency. Yeah, and maybe they did that. Maybe they just warned the wrong storm. I don't know. Well, the other tornado though, in the nearby storm, didn't really start until after the tornado emergency was already issued for the. So it wasn't even like the same timing. It was not a great. I've said it before. I think I said it. I commented on a few social media reports on it the last couple days. One of the ways you can fix these false tornado emergencies is just fix the radar holes. We'll go over there since storms are settling down a little bit across the East Coast. But yeah, if you fix the radar holes, that will significantly help any false tornado emergencies, because it's not completely the National Weather Service's fault. Those areas that were under the tornado emergencies the last couple days, Pawnee City was one, and then Hebron was the other, are roughly like, yeah, about 7,000 to 7,500 feet from the closest radar. And I believe Hebron was about the same, maybe a little less. And that one was a little less, about 3,000 feet. Now, that one actually had a tornado. It just ended up being like an EF-1. But yeah, Pawnee City, Nebraska is about 7,000 feet from the closest radar sites. So, which are Omaha and Topeka. Yeah, and they're about equal distant. We're looking at this this county right here. And there's Topeka's, and Omaha's is just off the screen. But yeah, it's about 7 to 7,500 feet. And you just can't get low-level data out of that kind of, that's over a mile up into the cloud. So you just can't get low-level looks at rotation. I think that was on this camera. Lightning just flashed. It's off the corner of my eye, so I think we just had lightning on the Brooklyn camera. If not, it was on the Texas cam. Oh yeah, now that one was, yeah, that was a couple years ago. That one was a little bit more perplexing because that area is not that far off the radar. Yeah, it's only about like 4,000 feet up. So that has a decent coverage area. That was, I think, someone just pulled the wrong trigger. Take a look at the wind profiles in these storms. The strongest winds look like they're basically eastern side of Brooklyn around Jamaica Bay. That checks out because that's a little bit more marshy open water, and that'll add to the winds a little bit. 50 to 60 mile an hour coming into areas around Valley Stream, Woodmere. It's around the JFK airport right now. I'm glad I'm not taking a flight right now outside of the East Coast because this would be a big East Coast mess for air travel right now. Yeah. And technically, population is not one of the criteria for a tornado emergency, which is a good thing. It means you can put a very small rural community under a tornado emergency. But yeah, they may have just pulled the trigger because it was a populated area. But on the flip side, like this is one of the most populated areas in the country, and just because it's super populated doesn't mean this storm right now is a tornado emergency. Like, so population should only be maybe a small factor in the whole process. Yeah, that's a good example of one. Cleveland is a very small town, but that was a long track, likely violent tornado. I think it ended up being a strong tornado, right? I think it was rated EF-3, but from chaser reports and from everything we've seen from it, it was probably higher than EF-3 winds. It just luckily didn't hit anything. Yeah, and that one was a good tornado emergency. That was a clearly long track. Similar to Plevna, that one probably was higher winds than it was rated EF-3, but luckily it didn't end up hitting a lot of things that could get it a higher rating, so that one got pretty lucky. But yeah, that was a good tornado emergency. Jackson, National Weather Service out of Jackson is a really good National Weather Service office. If you see a tornado emergency out of the Jackson office, they've done their homework. So yeah, if there's a tornado emergency in the Jackson weather office, then it's going to be a legit tornado emergency. Same for the Norman office. Obviously, National Weather Service out of Norman, those guys are top pros. And yeah, if you see any tornado emergency in the Norman office, which covers, I think, pretty much all of Oklahoma there, it's likely a legit tornado emergency. Which, yeah, today is the anniversary of the Moore, Oklahoma 2013 EF-5. So things are calm there right now. So that's good for this area today. No severe weather on the table today for Oklahoma City area. And I think I commented on the stream when we were streaming the Enid tornado. The Norman office did a really good job when they put out the tornado emergency for Enid. They included like the southern parts of Enid, even though for a while it looked like the tornado was moving towards the east and it was going to be more of a problem for Fairmont. The tornado did eventually occlude and start pulling more towards Enid. So, and the town was already in the tornado emergency, so they didn't have to like change the polygon or re-add anything. I think they already had it up kind of like, I don't know, I feel like it was like that shape maybe. So yeah, they were prepared in case it did occlude, and it did. But it could have easily just kept going straight, and they were prepared for that too. So they did a really good job with that tornado emergency out of the Norman office. Yeah, we might be able to. Let me see. I don't know what kind of satellite data we have, but let me do that. Hold on. Let me play around with my settings. I can turn off the roads. Yeah, and that's a good point, Joe, too, is like it doesn't have to be a tornado emergency to any tornado warning. You should take tornado safety precautions. And there's some research that shows that especially non-weather people, people that don't really pay attention to weather that much, don't really know the difference between a tornado warning, a confirmed tornado warning, a PDS tornado warning, and all those different levels. I do think a tornado emergency stands out, though, that I feel like the general, even if you're not really paying attention to weather that much, if something's called an emergency, I think that's probably taken as a higher level than a warning, but yeah. It's hard to really, it has been so long across Moore, it is kind of hard to see where that tornado path was. Maybe. Depends on the satellite. I don't know what satellite data specifically we have on this. And Moore has built up, obviously, like there's totally new neighborhoods that have probably covered the path a little bit too. Southgate, Santa Fe, Plaza Tower. So this is the path. Yeah, it's kind of hard to see. It's been built up again. You can kind of see here, if you look kind of up here, there's a little more trees in the properties. And then down here, there's more trees. So yeah, if you look here, there's more trees on the neighborhood areas. And then there's more trees up here. So there's some of the path. You can kind of see it's been redeveloped, but obviously that whole swath there has like no large trees. Yeah, but there's been more development, so kind of covers it up a little bit. Here's another good a good path you can see right in here. Down here, there's more trees on this part of the neighborhood. And then this part of the neighborhood hardly has any trees. And that should extend back. Yeah, that extends back through the Plaza Towers school. They got hit really hard right at the center of the tornado. You can kind of see the edge there. North of there, there's more trees on that neighborhood. So yeah, somewhat like, I'm just drawing it roughly like, and it doesn't mean that the tornado is probably wider than that. It's just the most strong part of it would be these areas where there's not a lot of trees. So that's probably more like your EF-4 and or EF-3, probably in higher path for damage. Briarwood, and then extending out that way. Yeah, and if you go to like, especially like Mayfield, if you go to like the Google Street View, you can really see that path. Let's see. I don't know if we can see it in here satellite wise. Mayfield is a bit newer, so yeah, you can kind of see a little bit. Even on this satellite, you can see a little bit more. Kind of right in there. Yeah. Yeah, because it hit right downtown, so this whole area is getting redeveloped. But this is basically where they wrecked down all the old buildings. And yeah, right now they're just plots of land. Yeah, that one you can see a little better. Until it gets out east, and you kind of lose it. So kind of right in here, maybe there's not a lot of trees. But yeah, this Mayfield tornado cut basically right across town. Kind of came in like that. So yeah, definitely a kind of a somber day for, especially around the Oklahoma City area. It's nice on a day like today when there's probably memorial services and remembrance services and things like that. It's nice that the Oklahoma City, the Moore area, is not dealing with any severe weather. Speaking of no severe weather, they've dropped that severe warning for parts of Long Island. Still a stronger storm there. A couple of their stronger storms, southern Connecticut, eastern Long Island. And then they've also dropped the severe warning around Toms River. That storm is still a special marine warning offshore, but that has calmed down. Still flash flood warning across the Philadelphia area. Turn around, don't drown. Looks like we're going to get out of most of the severe weather across the Delaware area. Still may get a couple stronger storms in Northern Virginia. These storms are still going in West Virginia, past Rock Cave, approaching areas around Buckhannon. Still severe warned, but not considerable threat anymore. And yeah, still some isolated scattered storms across the Appalachians. And keeping an eye on this cluster of storms, kind of riding along the I-10 area. Pull that back up. That's a cool look. You can kind of see even on this picture how remote this area is. Also arid to semi-arid landscape, so it doesn't take a lot to get flash flooding out here. That storm is actually in a bit of a radar hole, but it's flat enough out here. The terrain is easy enough. We're still getting a decent look at that storm. There is kind of a mid-level spin in that, but probably not low-level spin. And there is a little bit of a wind surge in the storm. So keep an eye on this if you're out here along I-10, Sheffield, Texas, and areas there along I-10. But I think for today, that'll pretty much wrap up the stream. Severe weather, fairly limited to the very rural areas in southwest Texas right now. Watch that. Whatever comes out of there may end up along the I-35 corridor by morning, so keep an eye on that if you're in South Texas. You may get some strong storms with more heavy rain by tomorrow. And yeah, we'll keep an eye on things tomorrow. We'll see. Things will be fairly isolated, but there is severe chances tomorrow. Fort Morgan to Springfield, Colorado, eastern Colorado. And it is a low-end tornado risk. We'll probably see a couple land spout reports at least, if not weak tornadoes out of there. And then wind and hail. And I wouldn't be surprised if the hail percentages come up just a little bit, or if they slap the CGI 1 on that larger hail. For today, as the storms clear out of the northeast, again, it's not really a tornado risk today. It's mostly just a wind risk, which should be more limited into the evening. Hail is pretty limited, and that should be also limited, but we may still see some larger hail out here in West Texas through the evening. And if things get really crazy, we can always pop back onto the stream too. But yeah, that'll be... Oh yeah, real quick, I think tomorrow is the Joplin anniversary too. I think you can see Joplin pretty good. Let me turn off the street. Yeah, Joplin you can see very good. You can still see where there's new development in here. And also kind of like the Moore, Oklahoma area, you can see where there's really carved out of trees, because this area has a lot of trees typically. But yeah, you can still see the tornado path in Joplin pretty distinctly. And yeah, there's still areas there where people haven't rebuilt, so there's still a bunch of like empty home sites and stuff. And then there is some new development as well. They have a brand new hospital now in Joplin. But yeah, kind of same thing as Moore. You can see there's a lot less sparsely populated trees in the main path of the tornado. The Joplin High School there. You can kind of see this neighborhood west of town. Yeah. Yeah, so it shows the power of these strong storms when you can see the landscape scars. Even on our just normal kind of this is not high resolution satellite data. I mean, it is pretty high resolution satellite data. I can zoom in on like one red car if I wanted to, but yeah, it's not research level satellite data. When you get into that, you can see a lot more tornado scars and stuff. Joplin tomorrow should be good on their anniversary. Yeah, Joplin only isolated, general thunderstorms. You're not in a severe risk tomorrow. So, yeah, good for both days today. Oklahoma today and Joplin tomorrow. No big severe risks. Otherwise, guys, thanks for joining us. If you're new, like and subscribe. Click that bell icon. We'll have more severe weather streaming, forecast videos, and forecast discussions. And yeah, only a couple weeks until hurricane season starts. So we'll have forecasts and hurricane coverage as we get into hurricane season. So yeah, thanks for a cool chat tonight. And you guys were awesome. I'd cover weather even if we had 0 people talking in chat, but the chat and the additions there that you guys make definitely make it even a livelier stream and stuff. So thanks again for all your support. Have a good one, Joe, and everybody else. You guys, Joe, I don't know if you heard me earlier. There may be a couple more rounds of storms and showers and stuff in the next, even into the overnight, but it looks like severe weather should be limited. So you guys should be good in southern Pennsylvania now. But still some wet weather. But yeah, we'll see you on the next one, guys. Thanks.